Hi, it's Dr. Greg Jantz. As a counselor and founder of the Center, A Place of Hope, depression and anxiety. These are the biggest issues that, as a facility that treats mental health issues, depression and anxiety are number one on the list. But there's confusion around depression. Even though I've written several books on depression, including Healing Depression for Life, I can tell you the confusion a lot of times is, what is situational depression? Sometimes they call it, professionals call it a adjustment disorder with depressed mood, and it can occur because there can be significant stressors in our life. Okay, so we're all human beings. We all have significant stressors, and we've all gone through situational depression. It's a response to something bad, and it's not a unusual response. It's a human response. And what we know is we either walk through situational depression or it walks with us continuously and develops into other issues. So what are some common triggers to situational depression? Number one, big one, loss of a loved one. I have a whole list here. Grief can lead to situational temporary period of depression. Number two, job loss or financial loss, economic uncertainty. And I can tell you that this financial stress is a big one for situational depression. It can cause a lot of anxiety as well, and then we move into addiction. Relationship breakups or divorce. This would be an important one to look at. End of a relationship can bring about significant loneliness, rejection, betrayal. So this is difficult, but it is situational depression. Sometimes that'll last for a while. I mean, that's more than a month. That's 6 months. It's longer. Health issues, a sudden diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis. That can be situational depression. It's a real life event, and the medical issue is real, and our response is a situational depression. All right, a lot about this in my book, Healing Depression for Life. This, I can only highlight some information here. We know that a major life event, change, you move, you retire, those can bring about situational depression. A natural disaster that's obviously traumatic, a shocking event can create a situational depression. All right, here's some emotional symptoms. Persistent sadness or a hopelessness, feeling overwhelmed and unable to cope, feeling increased anger or irritability, frequent crying spells, just a real frequent situation where you're crying and crying. We also know that physical symptoms, such as a lot of fatigue, that's a strong physical symptom, the fatigue, low energy, difficulty sleeping or oversleeping, so disturbed sleep. We know that appetite changes. This is under the physical heading. Overeating, losing an interest in food, physical tension, such as a headache or body aches. So a lot of physical symptoms can be in this situational depression. Behavioral, this last list. Withdrawing behavioral symptoms. You withdraw from your family. You lose interest in things that you once enjoyed. Difficulty concentrating, making decisions. Increased use of alcohol, gambling, online activity. It's escapism behaviors. All right, the question is, how do I overcome a situational depression? Well, the feelings are real. We've got to validate that. The situation is real. We can't ignore what happened. And I think there's a point where it's okay to feel sad, to feel frustrated, to feel lost. And I think we need to avoid self-critical judgment. All of us are going to have situations that represent a degree of depression. We're going to walk through those. We're going to walk through with support. We're going to walk through with spiritual support. We're going to relearn how to care for ourselves. We're going to learn new, good coping skills versus destructive ones. So this is one that we don't want to do is we don't want to isolate. And it's very common when we've gone through situations that create some depression. Mostly what we hear at the Center, A Place of Hope, is I waited too long to get help. I wish I would have got help sooner. And we just suffered too long. All right. It's important to look at what are my options. Going to aplaceofhope.com website, aplaceofhope.com. There's a tab, I believe it says test. There's a great one on depression. Take that quiz or test and see where your score is, see all the different symptoms. It will begin, and then we send you some information that just is a place to start. Then you can be in an informed position to make a decision and go, okay, what do I need to do? If something happened 3 months ago and my symptoms are worse, that's a sign. If something happened yesterday and I'm going through this, that's probably normal. If something happened a year ago and I am still significantly struggling, I would say it's time to ask for help. So it's temporary. Situational depression it can feel overwhelming. And I think it's so important because we tend to wait too long, or we struggle alone, or we start to engage in self-destructive behaviors, and then we regret it. So here's what we do. Gather more information, see what my options are, and if it's continuing, I'm going to be willing to get help. So take one of those tests at aplaceofhope.com. See what the options are.